way up to Alavena now, which is a village just above where I live, and then we'll continue on our way up. I'm going to put the radio on, so there'll be a little bit of music. I hope YouTube don't ping the music, because if they do, I'll have to take it off and just have it, you know, I don't know what I'll do, just talk over the top or something. But let's see. Okay, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy the trip up to Ronda. It's a town that I really like, and Lisa and I are considering a project up in Ronda, which would be something we would get involved in over the next 3 years. So it's possible that in the future we'll be moving further inland up to Ronda, but we're just working all those parameters out now. Okay, hope you enjoy the trip. quite a nice road to drive on, but you can get stuck behind something if something's moving slowly. We're just coming up to the village of Junquera now, so just as we go around this corner we come to a little bit of a straight road, so maybe some of the cars will be able to go by on that, and hopefully as we go through the village we'll be able to get past maybe this, it's a borer. The first lorry is a borer for boring a well, and the second lorry has the power unit on, so they're obviously coming up to bore a well for somebody, and hopefully it's somewhere in the village or close to the village and we can get by. But we're coming under the archway here. This is an archway built to carry water across the road for irrigation water, and this would have been built by the Romans, so it's a very old arch. A lot of the old open irrigation canals are not in use anymore. They've put the irrigation water into pipes, but some of them, in these smaller villages, some of them are still open. Obviously if they're open, potentially the water can be very easily contaminated, so gradually they're moving over to putting this irrigation water in pipes, and the irrigation water is only available in the summer months. It's very, very cheap. It's just rainwater that's collected through the winter, and then it's available through the summer months for irrigation. So now we're coming into the village of Junquera. It's a very small but very nice village. It's a Roman village, and in fact this road goes around the back of Junquera. The main entrance to the village is now down in a valley, because in olden times, in Roman times, they used to approach it from a different direction. There was no road, so they would come up from a village called Tolox, which is below Alavena, the village we went through just now. So the whole orientation of the village has changed. In fact, the centre of the village is down in the valley, and we're at the back of the village, on the high side of the village. Anyway, we'll see if we can get past these in a moment, and we'll carry on our way up to Ronda. I hope you are enjoying the ride.
Semanas Altas, y lo ha hecho público hoy el INE.
820 metres above sea level. Where I live is 200 metres above sea level, and all these puertos, it means gateway or pass, and las abejas means the bees, so it's the gateway of the bees. And probably in Roman times they would have had lavender planted up here or something for the bees to feed on to produce a particular type of honey, and that name has stayed with the area. road's very tight. They've got mirrors on the road so you can see what's coming around the escarpment, because it's very, very tight for cars. And of course, if you have lorries or if you have coaches and buses, it's very tight to get around. So we're going to climb up now and go over the top, and then it's downhill all the way into Ronda. Quite a nice smooth road. rangers feed the eagles up there, so it keeps them all in one place, so they're out of the way for everybody, and it allows them to have a safe environment to breed. And basically in the afternoons, late afternoons, if you drive around the other side of this sierra, this range, you get to see all the eagles literally swooping above the top of your head while they're hunting, so it's pretty spectacular. So that's over to our right here, which you can't really see because of the woods, but there's a track that goes in on the right hand side just up here, and there's a lovely statue, a lovely bronze statue, which I guess not many people know about, which celebrates the life of one of the park wardens who dedicated his life to looking after the park. And it's a lovely statue of him with his binoculars, and it talks about how he spent all his time up here in the Sierra looking after the wildlife and looking after the park. So yeah, very, very nice statue. We might have time on the way back, I might just stop off and show you that. So we're on our way to Ronda. on the Sevilla side, on the north side of Ronda, there are a number of bodegas. Some of them are very famous, very well known, and the wine is very high quality. This area was made popular for wine by the Romans. So when the Romans came over, they planted a lot of these vineyards, and the vineyards have been here in one shape or form since that time. But this side's never been so popular for the vineyards, but they are expanding over here now, and there are a lot of vineyards around Ronda. Ronda's very well known for wine internationally. In fact, a Canadian friend of mine comes over here very regularly and imports the wine from here into Canada. So yeah, it's very well known and very high quality wine. But most of the vineyards are on the north side, and we're actually going to be driving over to the east side today, so we're not really going to see any of that, but I just wanted to let you know. Just as we come down the road here, you'll see a much older Roman aqueduct, the same as we saw earlier on, going into the village of Junquera. And this aqueduct would have taken the water across the road and the railway line, but now it's no longer used, so you'll see there's gaps now in the aqueduct. But this has been here since Roman times. Side is the old Ronda Hospital, which is quite a big hospital, but now they've built a brand new hospital on the east side. We're actually going to be driving past it as we go out of Ronda, and they've got a big new hospital up here now, because there's quite a large population in Ronda. I don't know the exact numbers, but I guess it's probably around 50,000, maybe it's more, could be a lot more in fact, but it's quite a large area, and a lot of people live up here. It's really the inland capital. So we have Malaga down on the coast now, which is the capital, the coastal capital of the province, and then you could say that Ronda is the inland capital of the province. So it's really quite an important city. We're going to go around the roundabout here. We're going to get on the ring road and head out to the east. And where my meeting is today, it's in the valley, the valley of Henal, and this is a national park. So it's a beautiful area from when you turn off the main road all the way down. And the main crop, the main business, if you like, in the Val de Henal is chestnuts. So the whole of the Val de Henal is full of chestnut trees, and they harvest the chestnuts and they make all kinds of products. They make special chocolates with chestnut filling. They make spread. Anything that you could make from chestnuts, they make in the Val de Henal. So although the ring road's not going to be so interesting as we head around here towards the east, the actual destination, we're going to the Val de Henal, is a very, very interesting area, very pretty. So hope you'll enjoy going here, and see you in a moment. Sony have made two films. to make a third one. And the Smurf village, it was used for the promotion of the film, so the whole of the village has been painted blue, like a Smurf blue colour, and it is a real big tourist attraction. So the road has been kept in very good condition, because a lot of coaches come along here and bringing people up for a visit to the Smurf village. So a bit unusual. Not everybody is in agreement. As you can see now in the camera, there's a couple of white villages, and of course Uthcar used to be a white village, but there was no reason for anybody to come to it, no reason for any tourists to come. So everything was floundering, the bars, the shops, there's a hotel, small hotel, and so the council, town hall, took the decision to make it the Smurf village, and now it's been adopted by Sony as their official village. So they repaint every year, they repaint it blue, to keep it in good condition for the tourists coming, and it's obviously very unusual, but that's Spain, something unusual in Spain, another unusual thing. I've turned the aircon off and opened the windows. Most amazing scents down in this valley. Just very, I don't know what the smells are, but very unusual and really rewarding. So it's lovely to have the windows open and just drive through and just take in all these smells, natural herbs, I guess it is, and just very, very natural area, very unspoilt. They just allow everything to continue to grow, and just the most amazing fresh air and beautiful smells, very natural. So I'm just making the most of that with the windows open. And now we start to hit the chestnut trees. These big green trees are laden with chestnuts, so they'll be picking those later this year. We start to get into the areas where they really are growing and harvesting the chestnuts as we drop down into the valley here. Surface just coming into the village, and some of these bends are pretty tight. You can imagine with the coaches bringing the tourists up here, it's quite a squeeze to get around some of these corners. So maybe they've got a plan to straighten this out a little bit. That's why they haven't renewed the road here yet. I know the rest of the road was done in conjunction with the other villages, so they all pooled their money. It's called a deputación. It's like a fund that's available locally for improvements, and they all put their money together to do the whole road. But this hasn't been done down into Uthcar, so maybe they're going to straighten it out a little bit, make it easier for the coaches bringing the tourists up. And here's the blue, smacks you in the face. Here's the blue village, the Smurf village of Uthcar. We're right on time, it's 11 o'clock. Okay guys, I'm going to turn you off now because I'm going to be meeting my clients, but I'll put you back on a bit later on. So guys, I thought I'd bring you just quickly here. I'm on my way back from Ronda now. Had a nice meeting with people this morning, and I thought I'd stop off at this memorial that I mentioned to you, which is very tastefully done. I mean, it's just a small collection of rocks, and on the top of the rocks they've just made a small memorial to the guy. So his hat, his binoculars, and I guess that's like a little stoat or a weasel native to the area. So it's to Gregorio Gil Fernandez, and this was erected in the year 2000. So it says in this beautiful Serranía de Ronda, he spent all of his time looking after us as a guide, and is held in very high regard in our hearts. Thank you very much for everything. Please see this monolith in memory of our friend and compañero, our associate, Gregorio Gil Fernandez. So, very nice memorial to have erected. Something very simple. They've just taken a stone, created the sculpture on the top, and it sits at the side of the track, which is the access into the area where he used to live. They've planted a couple of trees here, which are not native to the area, so they obviously it's a symbol. And you can see they've dug out, they're watering them to keep them in a nice state. And they've got an olive tree planted here as well. So 3 nice trees planted. Olive trees aren't native here, it's these fir trees that you see around us. So a really nice, small, fitting memorial to someone who gave their time, their life to this area, taking care of and acting as a guide in this area. So we're only about, I guess, 500 metres off the road, but I'm sure very few people actually know this is here. Okay guys, speak to you soon.